So yeah, this came out of a conversation around giving and receiving and what that kind of really meant for us all, and the flow of that. And it ended up last week where we kind of did some exercise around energy work and the subtle energy stuff that we've all been doing. And then we held space for one person because something came up in their field. And I think there was some noticing that in their, we'll call it discombobulation, I like that word. But in their discombobulation, it's like how we can often get drawn into the discombobulation ourselves. But actually, by staying in a space where we raised our gold, we could then hold that beautiful space for that other person, and they could sit and process what they needed to process, which came out of a conversation like that I talked about, that when my husband was first got his diagnosis, I kind of realized, although I was there to support him and navigate the whole health regime and all of this, actually it was really important for me to find space to acknowledge my own emotion and not bypass it. And I actually came up with this very ritualistic practice that I did at least once a day, um, where I would allow those emotions to surface, but then I would sit with the feeling of them. And I would then sit with the feeling and drop down and go, what's underneath that? And what's underneath that? And what I want to point to everyone on that was, what I found was everything had a root cause in love. There wasn't a single emotion that came up, whether it was guilt, hurt, resentfulness, whatever it was, there was always this root cause of love underneath it all. And just being able to see that was really expansive, because once I touched that point, now it's not a mental emotional exercise, it's a feel it and feel what's underneath, if that makes sense. And so what we invited um, the person last week to do was actually to sit and sit with that and go underneath, while the rest of us held this high gold and we held this light, and we received in doing that as well. So there was this perfect giving and receiving from all beings, and yet everyone also was autonomous. There was no push and there was no pull. There was just pure flow. Is that a fair summation, Liz? Have you got anything else to add in?
No, it's really, no, that's really perfect. And I think that point, I mean, you're more experienced at doing this sort of thing than me, but it was a great practice for me not to be pulled into, because I'm so empathic, I'll be pulled into other people's emotions and their emotional landscape. So it was really good. So trying to remind myself to feel that, to be aware of that, what was going on, but to also hold that space was wonderful. Actually, it was really interesting. It's been a long time since I've done that. I've held space for people in the past, and it took me years really to kind of learn how to not fall into their space. So yeah, that's perfect.
So, so what I thought we'd do over the next 4 weeks, I think it'll be four, um, is we're going to look at different ways of kind of building our energy. So I've got four kind of different technique type things that we're going to use over that time, um, as a way of actually garnering and strengthening our own energy fields. And what I would invite you to do is to actually try and spend, even if it's just 5 minutes each day, just practicing whatever method we've used. If you can do it for longer, or you can do it for twice a day, um, I have this belief at some level that part of what we're here to do is to build our light bodies. And I believe we're here to build our life bodies to give ourselves more choice actually when we transition into the next part of life. Because when somebody passes with their light body, there's two things I've noticed. Is one that it doesn't seem to be so traumatic. It seems to be easier. And the other thing is like there was someone I was working with, she'd got breast cancer, and she passed, but we did a lot of clearing, and it actually, I was like, often we think healing is about healing to stay here, but when we lose attachment to outcomes, it's more about we're healing for the experience. We're healing to transmute the suffering into the light and be okay with whatever that means. And I always remember this woman turning up in my bedroom the day after she'd passed, just going, "Oh my God, look at me!" And it was like she was just the most phenomenal radiant light being, and it was obviously her time to go. And she'd done so much spiritual work, and she'd had so much spiritual healing, and she'd repaired all the relationships that needed repairing, and and it was just phenomenal, and it was like, I think it was just this wow, oh that's what it was about. It was about her radiance and her radiant being, and she achieved that, and I know from Viv maybe worked in different ways, but he very much stepped into that, and his suffering, I would say, was actually quite minimal, and he passed consciously with choice and very, very quickly, and his light body is very vibrant, so I know that's maybe a strange thing to maybe bring up, but it just seems kind of relevant for whatever reasons. And you if that's just too woo-woo or it doesn't fit, you can, Tom Kenyon always has a woo-woo bin, and you're always invited to take anything out that just doesn't resonate for you, just put it in the woo-woo bin. And if you ever want to take it out and have another look, you can. And if it doesn't resonate, it can just stay out of your consciousness. That's fine. So the plan is we will we'll do these different sessions. We'll spend about maybe 20 minutes to half an hour just doing our doing the practice. This time I'm just going to rerun the subtle energy things that we've done before, where we sit in the third eye and then we open up the chakras and we do all of that, just because it's familiar for the first one, I think, to most people. And then what I'm going to do is invite anyone who would say, well, actually there's something I'd really, really like to sit with, and then everyone will hold the space of light for them. Okay, not in a way of, it's not discompassionate, but it's not sympathetic or empathetic. It's just about helping them maintain that high level of gold so they can sit and process. And so, and then, you're right, Cece?
Right, Amber just texted she's on her way.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, on the message I said, if you come late, it's fine, and I'll just let you in and you just join in. And Amber's good at that. So,
Okay.
And yeah, so if you want now to have, is there something popping in life that you kind of would like to, I go for whatever comes to mind first and just write down if there's something that you might like to work on today. And you can just take a moment, we'll just all take a moment to write that. Amber, we're kind of very in a nutshell, we're doing a bit of a rerun of last week, running the energy fields and then allowing somebody to sit with whatever they want to sit with whilst everybody else holds space. And I think that there's something very powerful in other people holding the light while you're all in communion as such. So what we were doing, we were just writing down if there was one thing that really popped that you would like to work today, and that will just run through. You can then just put that to one side. There's something nice, isn't there? As Liz will know about, there's something about neurologically writing something down to just jot it in the system. So we will have to get used to a session for us sometime, Liz, I think. So what I invite you to do is just ideally probably have your feet on the floor, or you want your kind of feet slightly lower, or you can do it cross legs. I might cross legs today, but you want your feet lower than your hips is the ideal to run the energy. And we're just going to take a moment and settle into that space of that third eye. If it's easy, you can just start about an inch behind the bridge of the nose. And then just allow yourself to drop. Drop back.
Hello, I'm so sorry. I can't remember your name, the other lady who's there.
Is it Maria?
Maria, yes. Would you mind putting yourself on mute?
Here, I'll do it. There we go.
Okay,
There we
thank
go.
you.
I've done it for you, Maria. There we go. Right. Is everyone okay? You just take time to settle. And as you just drop back into the space of the third eye, just allow yourself to breathe and notice just any tensions in the body. And allow yourself to just breathe that out. Just breathing and releasing as makes sense to you. Bringing all awareness to your beingness. And then I invite you to open up the bud chakras on the bottom of your feet. And to allow the energy of earth to flow up your leg channels. All the way up to the first chakra. And just let that energy activate that first chakra. And just notice how that feels for you. As you settle deeper into your third eye. And when thoughts pass, that's okay. Just let the thoughts come and go as they will. And then from the first chakra, just drop a grounding cord all the way into the center of the earth. And just allow yourself to become fully aware of that flow of energy up the legs and down through the grounding cord. In a flow of giving and receiving. Notice what colour it is. And then sitting in that space of the third eye, just open up your crown chakra and invite that cosmic energy in. That's always there, there's nothing new in this. These are energies that flow all the time. But we're just bringing our awareness to that cosmic energy flowing down through our central channel, just in front of the spine. Just allowing us to settle deeper into ourselves. Allowing that cosmic energy to flow down into the first chakra and mix with that energy of the earth. And make a new energy of magical conscious being. That uniqueness which is you. That delicious divine mixture of pure conscious awareness. And then just allow some of that energy to flow back up the central channel and to come out of the crown like a fountain, bathing your aura in that beautiful mixture of heaven and earth. Allow it to bathe the whole of your aura and every fibre and cell of your being, drenching the cells and tissues, the organs, And then taking a little more of that mixture, allow that to come back up the central channel, but this time to divide at the shoulders and come down the arm channels and turning your palms upwards. Just allow some of that mixture to flow out of the palms and give back to the cosmos in that continual flow of giving and receiving. And then bringing your awareness back into that third eye. That portal to all divinity, that portal to divine consciousness. And just allow yourself to steep in that. Allow yourself to become that sixth chakra. Really allow yourself to settle into that space. Just relax your body a little deeper. Into the pillow of that. And notice the more you relax into it, what that feels like, so that that feeling becomes familiar. And just settle a little deeper into the awareness. then looking up through your crown chakra. If you wish, you can place a lotus on top of your head to kind of amplify that crown, if that feels right for you. And then looking up through that, just notice that gold colour of the crown, what that looks like for you right now. And then I just want you to raise that frequency up a notch. That's why we call it raise that gold. And go up another notch. And up another notch. And what I invite you to do is raise it up as high as it almost starts to slightly feel uncomfortable. Get up as high up as you can. And then when it starts to feel slightly comfortable, just come down half a notch or a notch. So there's this beautiful high gold. Just make sure you stay in that space of the third eye, just looking up. Just hold that vibration and allow that to inform your whole, or notice how it informs your whole aura, your whole being. And just bathe in that. And this is the gold that we will hold for each person. It's the gold we can always hold for ourselves. And then I'm just going to invite you to just shut down your first chakra. How you do that is up for you. You can just slow down the spinning, or you can imagine just shutting a door. And then you're going to do the same with the second chakra. And just shut down that second chakra. That one's especially important from an empath point of view. So when we're overly empathetic, it's the second chakra that blows open. So if you ever feel yourself dropping into that space, you can just come back and close that second chakra. And then you're just going to close the third chakra as well. And then just allow yourself to come back into the awareness of that third eye. And just notice now how easy it is to maintain that high gold. And then I'm going to invite you to put a rose in front of your first chakra. I like to put one behind it as well. And then put a rose in front of your second and behind it. And a rose in front and behind your third chakra. And a rose in front and behind your heart chakra. And then a rose in front and behind your throat chakra. And then a rose in front and behind your sixth chakra. So that acts like your protection while you work, while you're holding your space. You are in sacred space, but you also have roses. And just again, settle back into your third eye and just witness that gold. You can raise it another notch if you need to. Everyone's looks pretty good. And you may find sometimes it wavers, and that's fine. Just settle back into your third eye and just look up, raise it up. Then just check your second chakra isn't overactive. And you can just stop the spinning by stopping the door. Okay. Okay, we're just going to anchor your rooms as well. So we're just going to own and ground the room for each of you. But it'll create a space of you holding for one another as well. So from the top of your head, 4 cords are going to run out to the 4 corners of the room. And then that's the upper corners of the room. And then from the lower 4 corners, 4 cords are going to run into the grounding, your grounding cord, just underneath the earth. And so now you've created this container. And you're going to take a cleaning tool and you're going to use it to just clean all the area in the container. And your cleaning tools, whatever makes sense for you. It could be a feather duster, it could be a mop, it could be a normal duster, it could be a hoover, it could be a whirlwind, whatever it is. And we're just going to clean all the past and all the future out of the room with your cleaning tool. All the memories, all the story, all the patterns and beliefs. And you're just going to send all of those down the grounding cord, all the way to the center of the earth. And then when you're finished, you're going to just send the cleaning tools down through the grounding cord to the center of the earth. And then at the top of the room, I want you to put, or invite you to put, like a gold light. And you may want to put some flecks of rose gold in. So you hold a really high vibration at the top of the room. Beautiful. And then just get a sense of your aura. How far away from your body is that? It may be 18 inches, it could be 2 feet, 3 feet, whatever feels comfortable for you. And then just edge that with gold. Make it the brightest, the highest vibrational gold that you can, that feels comfortable for you. And again, if you want to put some flecks of rose gold in there, you choose. And then we're going to clean the aura in the same way. So inside all that space, you take your cleaning tool and again clean out all the old stuff, your story, the future story, the patterns, the beliefs, what I call all the debris. And just use your cleaning tool to clean and brighten. And just allow all of that to go down the grounding cord. And when you're finished, just allow your cleaning tool to go down the grounding cord too. And then just allow yourself to settle back into that third eye. But you're already there. And just bathe in that gold. And if you need to do any more cleaning or you need to just raise the vibration of your gold a little more, then do. Okay. So everybody, holding that gold, just allow yourselves to open your eye. And then, is there anyone who would like to go first and have space held for them? You do not need to share what it is you're working on. It's a purely... So what I'm suggesting is that you still hold your own gold, but everyone will hold it for you. And then I suggest you sit with your hands on your heart, and from the third eye awareness is allow yourself to feel what's going on and just feel underneath that. So we're exploring, but we are looking for that. Where's the origin of love within? But we're going to do one person at a time. So we'll all hold space for one, and then we'll swap. So we maybe, depending, I'd like a go. Who else would like to be sat in the gold? Liz, Cece, Katie, Amber, Maria, I can't see you. So there'll be about 5 minutes each, which I know is not loads of time, but it'll be enough time to, and there'll be times in other weeks as well. So if we get the sense somebody needs a bit longer, we will allow it, if that's okay. And then we will make sure that over the weeks, everybody gets space to be, but let's see how we go. Does anyone choose to go first? Anyone would like to go? Right, I'll go first then. So, right. So if you will all hold the gold for me, then I'm gonna Hmm. Thank you. I'm just going to share a little bit there. What I noticed was, to start with, I could just feel my chakras differently activating. And actually, I let go of trying to hold the gold so that, and the minute I did that, I could feel you all holding it. So that was really cool. And it was almost like that was really useful to kind of let go of that. And then I was feeling this kind of dance between my chakras going on a little bit. And the reason I was sharing it, so I let that go on, and then it occurred to me that I was swimming in a little bit of soup. So I actually started breathing out a little bit like we've done in the past, just to see what was coming. So I was breathing out the feeling, and I breathed out the words of what I was working on. And that was when I was like, oh, then I could see what was arising. So I just thought that might be useful. And everyone's got, how you do it, how you do you is you. But sometimes it's good to have ideas if you get a little bit stuck in the soup like I did. So there's something about seeing what you're working with that can just be handy sometimes, and it's not always necessary either. So thank you very much, everybody. That really cleared some density. And what was really interesting, I could feel, so I got into my second chakra, your mental emotional chakra. So, and I could feel that all activating, but equally I could feel the pull of the gold from you all, which was just wonderful. Just pulling me up to see it from that nest, if you like. So good. So, who'd like to go next? Come on, everyone had their hands up for a go.
I'll go next then.
Lovely, thank you, Liz.
Thank you so much.
You okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
Anything you wish to share, or are you just kind of?
Maybe later.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you all.
You're welcome. Does anyone need a break? Have a 2 minutes? Yeah? Have a stretch and we can have a chat if you want. How are you finding holding the space for that long?
I was feeling anxious because I was thinking, you're holding the space for ages for me. And I was thinking, I thought, no, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, it's that whole giving and receiving thing, isn't it? I'm happy to give, but it's really tricky to receive.
I was thinking about that while you were receiving, Liz, because I was thinking, like, wow, I don't know if I'd feel comfortable receiving for this long. And I'm like, what a beautiful example of just continuing to receive.
And
And
then I
it,
was like, but
and
I was actually, yeah, I was struggling with it.
yeah,
Interesting.
and what a cool thing to bring to the space of gold.
Yeah, which is kind of what my curiosity got sparked last week with that. Is like what we think it means and all the limiting beliefs that we probably have hidden away. And it's like, this just felt like a cool experiment to kind of really dig into that, isn't it? Because even whatever problem you bring, there's always something around giving and receiving in every problem, I think, or I'm suspicious that there might be at some level. And it does kind of seem to bring it up, like, wow, just to sit and yet the receiving is completely passive as well, isn't it? And the giving in this is passive. It's just flow. So thank you for sharing that.
No, it was just one thing that's popped into my head to share. Apart from it felt massive, but it was wonderful sitting outside of space and time. And I just felt like whizzing out far into the universe to pick a piece of myself up and to bring it back. There was some soul retrieval stuff. That was really like, what? No wonder I struggle with some things. Oh, so it was massive. Thank you. It's very cool.
And that's really so. I was being a bit cheeky because I was tracking it on my screen a little bit, and that's what I saw. I was like, oh, she's going full out. How cool.
Oh, that's really amazing because you said the other week, it's like, oh my God, I'm making this all up. It's all in my head. I'm making it all up. And I thought, no, I haven't. Yeah, this is this. If it's happening on some level.
Yeah. If we're creating it, then it's in creation, isn't it?
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. Beautiful share.
You know what the gift for me in holding it for so long is that it forced me on multiple occasions to let go of what I thought holding gold had to be, you know? Like, because when Emma was doing it, I got this really cool visual of almost like we all had these dinner trays that were like all gold and they were like all shining onto like a wall. And then it became a projector screen that Emma could see things on. And it was very active. It was like, we have to hold these things so she can't see. And then as yours went along, and like naturally, I kind of found I'm going through perimenopause, so I started to get too hot. And then I got to open my window, and then it got cold, and I had to turn on my heater. So I'm like noticing how like the little distractions are coming, but I'm like, can I still hold gold even if I've got to open a window, or even if I've got like, how would I do that? And then I just like it just kind of kept dropping me into like, what's the minimum viable product that's actually totally it, which I think is just like maybe it was like just holding the intention or holding the good feeling or just being like I'm here, you know? So I don't know what it was, but it was cool because it forced me to, if it was shorter, I might have been able to pull it off, you know? But because it wasn't, it was great. It's like this experience of noticing, oh, the gold's still there, even if I'm not thinking about gold.
Nice. I like that. So does anyone else want to go? I don't think we're going to get through all of us today, but Amber? Yeah?
I'll go.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let's take a moment, we'll just all settle back in. Whether we're holding gold trays or whatever.
Thank you all so much. Um, it ended on a note where I just felt there was no separation between any of us. I could feel you, and it was literally, I just felt no separation. You were me, I was you. And I found myself thinking, gosh, I think this is really long, or it's becoming long, so I should rush through it. And I forced myself to kind of, not forced, but I allowed myself to just settle in and just be grateful for feeling what I was feeling with you in this space. And it was just the coolest feeling. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just got this sense of us sitting around this campfire in out west, like cowboys. And I know I had a pipe, and there was all these sparks flying up, and there was like a kind of can of beans cooking on the side, like cowboy beans. And we were all just sitting there chatting and gazing up at this amazing sky.
You're describing the sense of comfort I was feeling as being, that was just this oneness, and it was just so wonderful.
It felt for me like something big shifted on a kind of a collective level. When you said you felt that, and there was just something, I don't know, it's just that like something new was lighting up, and loads of old stuff just kind of, it didn't even just fall away, it almost like no longer existed. It was like the Akashic records were being wiped clean, and that's what it kind of like, and on both, I don't know if you read Cryon at all, but they're like, there's a mirror held on Earth of the Akashic records, so that we have that dock in, and it was just like everything just went, and then, and I was like, wow, what are you doing, Amber? It was, and yet it wasn't just, it wasn't just you. It was like you said, it was like everyone. It was just beautiful. So cool.
I just had this sense of letting go of the future expectations, the past, whatever it was, and just holding like all of you, like it was our space. And it wasn't just our space, it was everything space. Like I felt connected to everything there ever was, there is, there ever will be. Like literally, there was no limit to it, and we were all in that space together. That's literally what it felt like. Liz, you were saying something.
Oh, I was just going to ask what the Akashic records are, but I can look that up.
So the Akashic records are essentially the records of everything that there has ever been and everything that is to come. So it's like, like in spiral dynamics, we look at the fact that the way we view time as linear isn't actually real, it's more cyclical. And the Akashic records hold everything. And so, like in shamanic practice, you're going down the timelines and all of that. Really, or that's a way of you're accessing all the Akashic records, the past lives, all the ancestral stuff. Everything is there for viewing. And some people specialize in actually like going up to the Akash. So they will actually do it as you can go to a portal up to the Akashic Records, and you can go and ask your guide. You have Akashic Record guides that you ask, and so they actually do their formula that way. And actually, when we do Alani teaches subtle energy, we go up to the Akashic Records and we go and ask for what we need to see. So you might be releasing, I think it looked to me like Amber was releasing a big, what I call in the book of vows, like the old contracts. It looked like you were releasing a really old contract that was in place, and then once she's done that, it just went. So.
I think maybe we rename this group Akashic Records Field Trips, and then we're just like, hi, can we come in? We would like to read and rewrite.
So we can do an Akashic Records journey sometime. We'll add that into the.
I'm just teasing. I love everything you do. I was getting a kick out of what was going through my own brain.
It's all a field trip.
Oh yeah.
Where are we going?
All field, all trip.
So wow, I really enjoyed tonight. Cece, you've been very quiet tonight. Have you got anything you wish to share, or are you just?
No, it was lovely, the whole experience. And I just, noticed when I was talking to myself, some of the things I was saying. And then I'd like, okay, regroup, clear it, get up, support whoever's there, with all sorts of imagery and neat. I often could see like whoever was being supported, like rising. I had this vertical thing going on where people would rise and like things would fall off and they'd be like swirling around and the light would be spreading. It was really lovely to see that. And sometimes all of our light bodies were all dancing around together. So just a mix of things, and it helped me see some of my what I want to ask for next time. So I will be continuing. So fabulous, just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you all for the joy of witnessing for you.
Yeah, it's
That was
powerful.
huge.
You see things for yourself, don't you? I think, in holding.
Are you muted, my love?
Oh, I'm muted, am I?
Oh no, we've just lost your audio, Emma.
Oh,
You're back. Oh no.
Hello?
Yeah.
There you are.
Oh, how odd, because I didn't lose you. Normally something freezes, doesn't it? So can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
So I do have to just mention that you were quieter today, than in the past, and I tried to turn you up. I could hear you, but you were like I wanted you just like a little bit louder in my ear.
Right, okay. I know, Cece, you've said recently that it seemed a bit quiet.
It is much.
Yeah,
And
for me too.
I
It
keep
might-
Is it quiet now? Is it?
Yeah.
No.
Better.
I keep turning up my volume and everybody else will come in loud and Emma, I can barely hear you. So there's a distinct
Right.
difference.
Let me go.
Yeah, sometimes I think you're just sitting farther back, and I find myself kind of going in closer to hear you. But today, like right now, you're fine.
It's a little softer maybe. Hard to hear.
You know what could help, Emma? Not that you have to do this, but if you're doing a lot of work where you're kind of like moving around or you're drumming, you're further from the computer, you might want to get a lav mic and just test it out, like those little ones that clip onto your body,
Yeah.
wireless or something. I don't know, just something to play with, because it might be fun if you're actually like wanting to be more dynamic away from the screen.
There was also a setup my son uses. The mic kind of just hovers, like it's not in front, it's more just a drop one. So, but you can try, like it works. And right now you're sitting closer, so it's all fine.
I think there's also like different types of mics, some that pick up like directional sound straight ahead and some that do this loop thing and pick it up.
So, oh, it's a shame Maria obviously had to leave us early, but bless her. But
I've got a question. Does anybody have Cheyenne ancestry or some kind of connection to Cheyenne?
Not Cheyenne. I have Mi'kmaq ancestry, which is like a native tribe from the east coast of Canada and the US.
Okay.
I've got
There
a
was
lot
somebody.
of guides from. There were a lot of guides coming in. Are you sure it
I
wasn't?
mean, because it always feels it's a bit kind of fakey, you know. Someone goes, "Oh, I've got a Native American guide," but they really strongly came in,
Yeah,
and
it's yours, baby.
is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've always thought, oh, that must be really fake because everybody goes, "Oh, I've got a Native American guide. I was Cleopatra in a previous life."
Any
Joke.
of that.
I wasn't.
If you think you're right, so if you go back in time, it's hard to comprehend, isn't it? But your ancestors, you will have that in your ancestry. Some, like from these indigenous people. And if you think the land masses were kind of all one at one point, weren't they? Because they've proven, isn't it, the UK was linked into part of America, and so it's like. And you think about how few people were on the earth that now have populated us all.
Yeah, so they go across the Bering Straits, the landmass across the north when they went across. Yeah, I mean the UK was linked to Europe because there was no North Sea, so that makes sense. Oh, that.
But there's something about
Also past lives. I mean,
it's like I don't so this was a shamanic journey I had, but then I read about it later on that was like, oh, that makes sense. Was that I was part of I think it was like Lemurian, but it was Hawaii, and I had a past life regression into that where I was meant to be deciding where the boats were going, and I remember I was under a lot of pressure to help to be the navigator, and then we ended up elsewhere, but we had to leave there because it was all dying and all going and exploding. I think I felt probably volcanic, and then we were moving the tribes, and we ended up in these other islands down on the other side of the world, which was essentially around New Zealand. And you look at Hawaiian and New Zealand indigenous practice, they're really, really close.
Yeah.
And there's someone else actually, then I can't remember who, but wrote about that. And I was like, oh, that's just mad. But we have all of that. And it's like, there was somebody recently I met who was going, oh, well, I'm a Palladian, whatever. And it's like, we're all Palladian, that's our DNA. That's where that DNA is in all of us, and as well as other stuff.
Elizabeth, I do that too, where I'm like, oh yeah, of course everyone thinks they're Cleopatra, and of course I'm gonna think, and then I get all like in my head about it. But then, when you think about it, it's like we feel like everyone's doing this work, but it's such a small percentage of people that are actually like curious about past lives, like actually willing to go into like the woo-woo, whatever, and it's like, so the people that are out here looking around probably are the ones that had prominent past lives because they're actually progressing on a soul level through these incantations or incarnations. And it's like it's closer to the surface, you're more adept to looking at it, you're more curious about it. Like it kind of checks out, but I get it. It's like that thing in your brain that you're like, oh God, am I really gonna, now that I've seen this, now am I gonna go talk about it because it makes me sound like such a jerk? But it doesn't. But there's a part of your brain that's convinced it does.
And you could have had I think as well, the more you do around past lives, the more you come across ordinary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I think that's the other thing. To my very first life, past life regression, I was Aboriginal and I was dancing naked, and I always remember being really embarrassed because I was just like, I'm naked in front of all these people, and then they're going, "What clothes have you got on?" And I just couldn't tell them that I was naked, so I just kept defending off the question. It was really bizarre, isn't it? It was like doing a past life because I was like, "Yeah, I'll be the volunteer." Um, and and then another time I was actually washing dishes in a Chinese, it wasn't a restaurant, it's like a street food place. And actually I had a backstory on that it turned out that I'd been very wealthy and then I'd lost everything. And actually I was just really happy serving people. It was like, and it's so, the more you do, the more it can be really, another time I just was a woman who had geese.
I want your geese woman timeline in my life. I love that. Well, and I almost suspect that, like, we come into everything with predisposed notions. And so maybe spirit shows us the past lives that line up more with our theory of past lives, right? Like I'm just realizing right now as we're talking about it, like I don't suspect to see anything prior to I wouldn't expect to see something in the timeline that I'm alive now. Like, so if I got shown a past life that was like from the 90s or the 2000s or the 2010s, like that wouldn't check out with how linear time works for my mind. So that would be really weird for me, right? Like my first one was also being like a native person in um like in the America, in like not Central America somewhere, and like being aware of people around me were actually people in my life right now. I mean, like, holy shit, like my best friend's my wife, and like my mentor is my mom, like just like stuff like that. But that I was at a level of consciousness where that I could receive that. So I kind of wonder sometimes if spirit just gives us what we can handle.
Why were you Cleopatra in a previous life, Liz?
No, I've never been anybody important.
What if we've all
I've
been Cleopatra in a previous
no,
life?
no. Bless her. She gets really used. She's just like, yeah, whatever. No, I've never been anybody that I know of as important. I feel like I've carried a lot of, oh God, am I going to say this? There was one life where I was really, really cruel and evil and horrible and caused so much suffering. And that's a real key piece for me because I have this real attachment to suffering. And then the other piece of that is I've got such a strong memory of walking out on cobbles and there's all these people and they're all shouting and jeering and I am being led to be burnt. And that used to cause me real trauma when I was going through my breakdown, whatever it was, like 10, 15 years ago. I was constantly in this space of being burnt alive. And then the other piece that came out was this horrible, awful thing. It's like, God, I don't know. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because that's all about how you hold those without holding it in judgment. I mean, you see these people and you see all the news, and I still can't help feeling, God, what if that was us? What if we're the baddies? But it's not as simple as that, you know. I don't know.
What if there is no good and bad?
Yeah, well, that's the conclusion you have to come to. But it's really hard, isn't it, when you see people perpetrating horrible crimes and suffering? It's really hard not to sit in judgment.
Mm. I always one thing that I found really profound in modern sort of times was I can't remember her surname, but it was Malala, the girl that got shot, and I was just like, oh my God, what an example of soul's journey playing out. That to me was like, it raised her up to an international audience to be able to speak her truth, for her to be able to have a vehicle to help change the world. That would not have happened if those people hadn't perpetrated against her. And so everybody was key in that soul's journey. And that's where going to gold and looking at it can be so useful, because there we can see that space. It's when we're not seeing it like that, we're dropping into that kind of grey murky bit that I always feel it around my neck. It's like it always drops here, and you're just like, because it stifles speaking of the truth, to not view it at that higher level. And the other thing I'm going to point at is, when we're holding space for each other, if we hold that gold, look at what's happened today with the people who had the space held for them, because we were holding that high vibration. Whatever, they could have been wallowing in all sorts of soup, but somebody holding a high vibration helps you to transform that and transcend it. Whereas if you allow your second chakra to blow wide open and you join them in the I suspect they wouldn't have had the same results. In fact, I know it, because I know when I've sat with another coach or another shaman who's gone, you go, oh, I've got this problem going on, and they're like, oh God, that's awful, oh, you poor thing. It doesn't feel nice, does it? Whereas when you can hold that and go, I hear you and I see you, and I have compassion, and I have so much love for you that I'm going to hold that love and let that. I personally believe that changes the world. And it's not sympathetic. It's just not allowing my second chakra to just be blown wide open all the time and not be balanced against my third eye and my crown. It's like bringing my mental, emotional into balance with that higher vibration, rather than allowing it to kind of rule. And that's just what I see. So, and I don't, whatever, if anyone has anything they see in that.
One of the things that's helped me a lot in the last maybe a little while is sort of noticing the difference between judgment and discerning, because it's like, I don't know, as human beings, I feel like we just go through life and everything is begging us. Like it's there's sort of this constant interaction with like, do I like it? Don't I like it? How do I feel about it? What is it? And it's like that's kind of always going to be playing in the background. But like to me, that it's almost like that higher level, almost like that gold level of judgment is sort of like like that there becomes a space for discernment. Whereas it's like sort of beyond good or bad, right or wrong. And you get to just kind of be in that space of like, is this for me right now? How much of my attention does this get? How much do I need to invest in this? And so it's just something I don't have the answers, but something to play with.
I like that. Thank you.
I think what I've seen in that is that judgment comes from that mental, emotional, and discernment comes from that third eye space.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that you're just going to go, oh, the narcissist pedophiles, okay, the behavior, but it's a separation of behavior, isn't it? So I can see their behavior is not great, but I can actually still see the light of their soul. I can choose who I engage with. It's a bit like Mavis says, isn't it? She's like, you don't have to ever invite everyone into your house. Some people you just wave out on the road and let them carry on walking past. What a fabulous evening yet again. So
So there's a funny part of me that's curious, and I have not. Somebody shared with me what they saw of my, like some of or a couple of my past lives. I have not done any regression, but I'm just curious. Have you ever come? Seems like Cleopatra is really busy, popping up all over the place. But does anybody ever say they were Marcus Antonius? I mean, the poor guy, he was, at least if we follow Shakespeare's rendition of it, then he should be right along with her. But does anybody ever pop up as Mark Antony, or is it just Cleopatra?
oh no, you find that they all pop up in all sorts.
But I've always felt like, in a sense, it's not important. It's like holding on to story, which is what one of our teacher used to tell us all the time, didn't he, Emma? That if Cleopatra's coming up for you, then that is a symbol of something. It's not. It's on a mythological, right? It doesn't mean that you were actually physically Cleopatra. What does she embody for you? And I suspect that when I hear there's certain people saying, "Oh, I was Cleopatra in a previous life," they have been, in my experience, less. They've been powerless women. Actually, they've been women in lower socio-economic groups, or not so educated. That's just in my experience. And I'm wondering whether there's something there that is saying, that the goddess within them isn't being recognized, or that they aren't able to see that. It's not like, Cleopatra, what does she mean? And she was this incredible, powerful woman who made choices. So of course you're going to identify with her if you don't feel like an amazing, powerful woman who's got ability to make choices. Does that make sense?
And she was meant to be insanely clever as well, wasn't she?
Oh, you've gone again, Emma.
Yeah, kidding, Emma.
Have I gone again?
There we go.
No, I say she's meant to be insanely clever as well, wasn't she? Because she spoke like 9 different languages and was meant to be quite brilliant. Maybe one for all women to embody at some level. But yeah,
I think that's
so
it.
Right, Liz, though, isn't it? And it's like, and it's down to us how we interpret. And it's also that thing about not holding on to the story of it. I think we can we've got enough story, without getting really hung up on what we were. It's about past lives are for the learning. Take the learning, let go of the emotions, let go of the story, isn't it?
Well, it just speaks to me like on another level at how much we want to map our human understanding of how things work onto a completely mapless spiritual context. Like it's like the people that have those like past life or they have those near-death experiences where they die and come back, and then people are like, "What did you see?" They're like, "I can't explain it. Like we don't have words here for what I just saw. Like it doesn't, And I think again, like it's just as much as we can intellectually wrap our heads around the fact that what we're experiencing is like that maybe past lives are non-linear, but then but our whole context for seeing the world is linear, so like we can understand it, but we don't really experience it. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're not like really getting it, and I think we just slide back into these understandings over and over and then judge them. But one of the questions I wanted to ask you, Emma, because it kind of came up for a second as we were talking about things. Sometimes I've been thinking about levels of consciousness lately because I had a real dip the last couple of weeks, and then I thought I was out of it, but then it was like, then I actually came out of it, and I was like, oh, I was not out of it. But like I was thinking about tracking like levels of consciousness to the chakras, but I'm wondering if that is like a slippery slope, because the chakras each have different gifts and different like things to show us or ways of interacting with us, and maybe thinking of them as higher or lower levels of consciousness is too oversimplified. So I'm just curious what comes up when you hear that.
It's like there is a link, and yet all's important at the same time. So there's, I think it's worth knowing or kind of recognizing which chakras you're operating out of, because it may be that you've got one that's more is like overactive. So often when we're in that mental emotional space, so someone who's maybe a bit bipolar, they can be a bit overactive in that sacral when they're on manic, and then suddenly it kind of shuts down. So a lot of women have imbalances in that area just because, you know, there's been so much sexual abuse that kind of runs through our DNA. And I think that's a lot of what we're shedding all of that. That's my only thing around sometimes about HRT and stuff like that. We're careful that we're not actually suppressing the very trauma that we need to be releasing.
What's HRT again?
Hormone replacement therapy.
Oh yeah,
Hormone
yeah, yeah.
menopause.
I'm like, oh, that thing I don't want to find out about, right?
And there's no judgment on not doing it, but to me, that the menopausal stage is really about actually rebalancing. It's just about shedding all the stuff, all that past crap in the DNA of being a woman. And I think that's why there's a lot of us have shown up at this time. I think that's kind of what we're here to do at some level for the whole of humanity, you know.
I'm just flabbergasted that every woman isn't talking about it every second of the day. Now that I'm here, I'm like, excuse me, how come no one told me about this? And why are we not talking about it all the time?
They are in the UK, aren't they, Liz?
Maybe they are. I've just been on such a different wavelength that now that I'm tuning into it, I'm going to hear it everywhere, you know? But
Maybe.
maybe this is the first generation that's like, oh, like not generation, but like this is like the first group of women that's actually like owning it and being more public about it too, because I think maybe in the past there was more stigma.
I read or heard something really curious about the experience that we in, I guess, not just our generation, but you know, a few generations ago, a couple of generations maybe, but apparently the experience of women before did not necessarily equate to the experience we're having. But there is so much different in the last few decades that we are experiencing and adapting to, that women's experience of this change, so to speak, is different. I remember my mother-in-law, she was going through menopause, and when I saw her take off, like she would dress in layers so she could take things off and put them back on and all that, right? Because of the temperature change in her body. And apparently that's not necessarily something that, I don't know, maybe my great grandmother might have experienced, or perhaps even my grandmother, I don't know. But it's not something that would have ever even been on my radar to ask. And my mom went through menopause in her 20s because of some trauma that she went through. So her experience is completely different, right? So it just sparked a curiosity in me to kind of say, interesting, you know, I just took it for granted that everybody goes through that. And because looking at mom, I was just like, okay, this is what happens. And now I'm curious, does it really? Or is it, you know, certain things that have led us to here? And what does that mean? And it's just a curiosity, like it's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
This has been incredibly wonderful. I'd love to keep going for hours, and I have a business appointment to get to, so to regroup.
Oh, Susie,
Put the menopause to one side. All that. Get to my business appointment, but thank you. This has been fabulous.
Oh, I really look forward to holding space for you and Katie next time.
I think I do too, and I'm sure does Katie, and I look forward to holding space for all of you too. I mean, all of it. It's just, it's not. I mean, it's really, you know, holding space for somebody else or being held space for. It's so interrelated. But it's
Both are gifts. Yeah.
all just a huge gift. So
And have a good meeting.
thank you. I will.
Thank you. Katie, I'm a little curious. I just read a few minutes ago, I read your comment in the chat. If it's okay with you, may I ask what you experienced while you were holding space for me? Because that comment, you asked me, where did I go? And I was like, okay, what did you feel?
Oh, that's so funny because I actually put that in right at the beginning because you popped up. Like I saw you and then you went off camera and like, come back. So that was actually not while we were holding space. That was just at the beginning because I saw you. I haven't seen you for so long. Usually when you come on, you're off camera. So I got to see you and I was like, no, I want more. Like, where'd you go?
And usually if I have a busy whatever happening, and then I just turn it off so you guys don't get disturbed. And for a moment I thought I was going to get interrupted, so I turned it off, and then it was okay. So I turned it back on. But it's lovely to be here with you.
Hmm.
No, it's
Yeah.
been a lovely session.
Oh, thank you all so much. I'm going to go as well. I don't know what I've done without this. How have I managed without this?
Just write that down and send it to Emma so she can put it in her testimonials.
Yeah, how do I manage that?
Right?
Exactly. Oh my God, I could write a novel of testimonial for Emma.
How did I even human before this?
Yeah.
Oh,
That thing that the last parting thing that just sort of popped into my head really strongly when we were chatting earlier was like, you know, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and I think that helps too in turning us away from judgment. You know, with this is what it is to be human, and in all our, you know, we're still animals. You know, we're still monkeys, basically. A bit more than that, a bit less, bit, you know, we're different, but it's a sort of, and it's really yeah, I think that was kind of cool. I like that.
yeah, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. See you next time.
Yeah, it's been
See you next week.
everybody.
Bye.
See you next
Bye.
week. Bye. Sorry I didn't reply to you. I didn't have a chance there. But yeah,
No worries, no worries. You're still recording, just so you know.